Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe Illustrated. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and we're back this week for another amazing issue of the Cobra Civil War. Listeners, I was not fooling last week when I expressed my sincere excitement about this Cobra Civil War. I loved this story so much. This issue does not disappoint. It is action-packed, cover to cover. Things move at a very brisk pace, and I love it. I'm here for every bit of it. You know who else is here for every bit of it? Our sponsor, the Movies and a Meal podcast. Why don't you guys give them a listen? Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts. And you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie? It's about not two movies. It's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben, and each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. It's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Pensarga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out 1 episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show. So while you're subscribing to the Movies and the Meal podcast in your podcatcher, why don't you also go to your podcatcher and rate and review this show? Remember, every rating, every review you give helps us. I was just checking on the Apple reviews, and we've got like 50 reviews for the show, which is great. I appreciate every single one of them. And while you're also on the internet, go on to follow me at Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at Joe on Joe Pod. That is how you can reach me. You can also reach me directly at joeonjoepod@gmail.com. Tell me what you like about the show. Tell me what you hate about the show. And I'll ignore one of those 2 suggestions. But I'm going to leave it up to you to decide which one I'm going to choose to ignore. And then which one I'm going to internalize and obsess on for the next few weeks. So I leave that to you, dear listener. I hope everyone's doing fabulous as we're entering this vaccination period of COVID. I know it's a personal choice for everyone, but I urge you all to listen to the doctors and get your shots. Toilet Teal has gotten her COVID vaccinations. I'm about to be eligible here in the sunny state of California, so I'm looking forward to that. Get back out there and interact with the world. And one of the things that's on my agenda that I need to do is I need to get to the next big Joe convention. So once we get vaccinated, I'll feel a lot better about making that choice. Now, before we dig into the fantastic G.I. Joe number 74, we're going to check out our segment.
You were saying?
And look at what comic books were on the rack the month this book came out. The month was August of 1988. So we look over at Marvel Comics, and what else was Marvel publishing in the month of August 1988? And the first really cool book I see is Akira #1. Now this is the American reprints of the manga, the Japanese manga. Akira, if you guys have never seen the movie, it's great. It's funny. Inside baseball. Toilet Teal, not a fan of anime. In fact, it bothers her. There's something about just the general, the language of anime, you know, the storytelling language of it is just not on her radar at all. So I have Akira, and recently I was like, man, I haven't watched Akira in forever. I'm gonna bust that Blu-ray out. And I started watching it, and I was getting into it, and then Toilet Teal came out, and it was like I got caught watching something else on the internet. You know what I mean? So I quickly turned the Blu-ray off because I didn't even want to engage. I didn't even want to engage in how much she's not into Japanese animation. But so Akira #1 is on the shelf. Now this has been it's off reprinted. I'm actually not sure the original print dates. When the actual Japanese version of it first came out, but this is the American hit the States one. It's still in print by I believe Dark Horse has the license these days, but Marvel first put it out back in 1988, so that's cool. We go down the line here. Captain America 344. Now this is John Walker, or actually at the time I think his name was still Jack Daniels. If you guys aren't watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, do it. Do not sleep on it. It is a really cool show. It's a lot of fun. I think it's only 6 episodes. I'm enjoying it. I hope in a real sincere way that the family and the heirs of Mark Grunwald are being appropriately compensated, because that entire show is being torn from the pages of this era of Captain America, and everything that Mark Grunwald wrote in the late 80s. Well, I mean, he wrote Cap for like 100 issues, so all of this is his, but it is coming from this era that we're talking about with G.I. Joe, and Cap 344 is no exemption from that. Now in this one, it's Steve Rogers wearing that U.S. agent outfit on the cover, but in the pages of the book, Johnny Walker / Jack Daniels is the actual Captain America. Though aside, if you are watching Cap Winter Soldier, and this is no spoilers really, because anyone who saw Endgame, you know that at the end of the movie, old Cap, we'll just call him old Cap, old Steve, shows up and is like, hey, Falcon, here's my shield, why don't you take it? So on the show, Falcon's like, man, I don't think I can handle the shield, I'm gonna give it up to the government. And Bucky is like, why, how could you do that? And they're both like, well, it was something. At no point on the show so far, guys, has either of them said, maybe we should ask old Steve, because as far as we know, he's not dead. Everyone's treating him like I know the world thinks he's dead, but Falcon and Winter Soldier know that Steve's just an old man somewhere. So is the show just going to ignore that? That's a little weird. And I'm not generally, I don't mean to complain about it, because I enjoy the crap out of the show, but they behave as if Steve's dead. Now, maybe there's something they haven't told us. Maybe they're going to show a cut scene that Steve jumped back in time and went to finish dying somewhere. I have no idea. But as far as we know, there's an old man sitting, probably retired in Florida, watching all this on TV going like, I gave Falcon that shield, that son of a, So anyway, that's my thoughts on Falcon and Winter Soldier. I really did enjoy it. I have been enjoying it quite a bit. Special missions, it's up to issue number 12 by now. Iron Man is a nice crossover with Ant-Man, and that's the Scott Lang version of Ant-Man, of course. What else is on here? Oh, Hercules has a Bob Layton graphic novel. Bob Layton, man, he's so talented, and he really loved Hercules in the 80s. He did a couple of miniseries. He did this graphic novel. Like, he really took that character under his wing. I wonder what his some creators fixate and kind of generally gravitate towards a character, and Bob Layton absolutely did that with Hercules. Of course, he had a huge run, epic run on Iron Man as well. Over at Silver Surfer. And I think is this the start of it? Well, the Evolutionary War continues. Let's put it that way. I think it's early on in the Evolutionary War, but this was the big summer crossover for Marvel that year. No, I feel like we saw some other. Like the Punisher was like the first one, because it was really just random that the Punisher would be involved in an Evolutionary War. Oh, that's actually this month too. So I think this is the first month. Yeah. So Punisher #1 is on the stands. Silver Surfer Annual #1 is on the stand. So this is the Evolutionary War, guys. If you don't recall, they did do an omnibus of it a couple years ago. Have it, read it. It's all right. this was the High Evolutionary making his move, and they were kind of making him into kind of a Thanos level bad guy, and he was, what was he doing? Was that no? That wasn't Last Attacks. Evolutionary Wars. He's all about evolving people. I forget it the exact. Forget the exact. Oh no, I read the Last Attacks. I didn't read Evolutionary War. I forget exactly what he was up to, but it was the High Evolutionary, and what's he all about? He's all about like evolving people, turning animals into humans, and all that weird stuff. So that is going on right now. Willow #1 adaptation of the movie. That's exciting. Oh, this is cool. This is What the #1, and it's kind of a companion piece to What If. It's also a continuation of the great Marvel tradition of not brand X. What the was a Mad Magazine like comic book about the Marvel Universe. I love these What Does. I think they're really great. I don't have a full collection. I want to say they went like 22 issues. I think I've got about 18 of them. When I was a kid, it definitely, at a certain point, it definitely got old. So I stopped reading them. But I've gone back and picked up a lot of the ones that I've missed after I stopped reading, like the first 12 or 13. And they're funny. They're fun. They're a lot of fun. And it's just Marvel poking fun at itself. So if you ever, they really should put out a collection. I don't know if the humor holds. Humor's tricky that way. But it's always a delight. And I'm a fan. And they should put out a omnibus of both Not Brand X. I don't think Not Brand X ran all that many issues either. Collecting Not Brand X and that would be great. I think that would be just a delightful omnibus. I'd buy the hell out of that. That'd be really funny. So What the #1 was on the stands. And there you go, Marvel.
You were saying?
Now let's take a look over at DC Comics and see what is on the stands. Batman 422 catches my eye. Why does it catch my eye? Because I think the cover is by Mark Bright. Yes, it is. And that cover is Batman holding a big old giant knife. And it's like I don't know what you call that. It's like where it's got got a protective sheath over where your knuckles grab hold of the hilt. And isn't there a Mark Bright Snake Eyes cover that he did the same thing? And my brain is making this connection as we talk here. So, I'm going to ask the producer in the other room to look it up. And the producer is my dog, Mary Jane Watson, who is just looking at me funny. But my brain is putting a Snake Eyes cover that looks very similar to this Batman 422 cover, both by Mark Bright. Which is kind of cool. Like that's if he ended up doing a Snake Eyes kind of an homage to this Batman cover you did, that's kind of neat. And maybe by the time this airs, we'll look it up and I'll throw it up on Instagram. But as we're recording, it's a mental connection. Batman the Cult is out. This is cool. This is Jim Starlin and Bernie Wrightson. Long heralded. People have loved this book since the day it came out. It was deluxe format. It was that Dark Knight format. It was 4 issues. And it was about a cult of weird, I forget exactly what their deal was, but they lived in the sewers. And yeah, it's right, Shirley. And it's great because it's written by Jim Starlin, who's wonderful, and he was writing Batman at the time. But it's drawn by Bernie Wrightson, guys. Bernie Wrightson, master of the macabre, master of the horror, co-creator of Swamp Thing, did that amazing Frankenstein adaptation of the book, the Mary Shelley book. If you've never seen that or read that, it's been reprinted. I don't know who has the current rights. I've got a version of it probably from the mid-2000s that they reprinted, like an oversized one. Bernie Wrightson Frankenstein is just gorgeous. So Batman the Cult, if you've never read it, it's pretty good. It's one of those like early Batman miniseries right before they, now there's you throw a rock and you're going to hit some kind of special Batman story, whether it's a miniseries, a spinoff, deluxe, this or that. There's just so many. Look in any price guide, it's Batman. The Cult was actually one of the early ones. This era was when they started all that, and it ramps up as we get to 89 with the movie. That's really when it explodes. But the Cult absolutely was one of the early like miniseries that they did for Batman. It's really, really, really good. What else? Infinity Inc. number 53. I think that's the last issue. I believe that's it is. Infinity Inc. number 53. Michael Baer, cover art. Roy and Dan Thomas. Now, Roy Thomas would continue that corner, yeah, that's the right way to phrase it, that corner of the DC Universe with Young All-Stars, which they're at issue 15 now, and I think that ran for like another 4 issues, so that's, and then that kind of puts, the end of Young All-Stars kind of puts a wrap on the Roy Thomas universe, DC, what would you say, the RTDCU, which is really good, and it's really a good, it's really deep in continuity. It's very comic booky. It's very much in the old style of comics, and I mean older than Roy. Like Roy was, they called him Boy Roy. Is that what they called him? Roy, Stan's Boy Roy, in the early 70s, and we're still only mid 88. So at the time Roy was writing this stuff, Roy wasn't a contemporary of like the World War II, the Stan Lee generation, but he grew up on the comic books from World War II. So his writing style, or his favorite topics over the years, have always been that era. He loves it. He what does he do today? He makes the Alter Ego magazine. He's great. Roy Thomas is just I've seen him in interviews. I've never met him. Seems super knowledgeable. Obviously super knowledgeable, but seems like a great dude. But all his writing always tended to center around that World War II era. So this like Roy Thomas DCU is that Young All-Stars, All-Star Squadron, and Infinity Inc. So Infinity Inc. wraps up this month, and they kind of put a capper on that. What do we got else here? Wasteland number 9. That's the Del Close book. Who's Who in the Legion, volume 4. They're already publishing an update, the 88 update to the Who's Who have 1. Superman's World of Metropolis, which was the miniseries that Byrne was using to kind of catch up with all the supporting cast, so he wouldn't have to take time in the main book. Superman number 20. This is, yes, I think last month, we talked about going into that pocket universe. That's, I think, next month then, because Superman 20 is Superman with the Doom Patrol. And we know that Byrne loves the Doom Patrol. He did a whole Doom Patrol series, so that's kind of neat. I always liked Byrne's version of Robot Man. It always looked really good. Here's some scandalousness. I don't know who he's kissing, but Scotty is making time on the cover of Star Trek Annual number 3. Good for you, Scotty. Way to go, Scotty. Oh, Power of the Atom Volume 1, number 1 is on the stands. I like this run. I like the Atom as an adventurer. I don't think he's ever going to be more than B-list. Just because I think the gimmick, the size, it's not a gimmick, it's his power. But like, if you're talking about action adventure stuff, it's always, there's not many different stories. You can tell different stories, but it's always going to be wrapped up in that size change thing. And that's, I think either you're into it, Honey, I Shrunk the Atom kind of a thing. But Power of the Atom, I want to say ran about 18 issues. And it was a really nice follow-up to the Gil Kane sort of Atom stuff that they were doing in the previous years. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And that's going to be it for DC Comics.
You were saying?
Now, in the movie theater. So last month, let's reflect. We were talking about Die Hard and Midnight Run, guys. Die Hard Midnight Run came out in July of 88. In August of 88, it slows down a little and it gets a little more serious. And it's always funny to me to see the trends, because a lot of these movies, I can imagine these movies being released in August now these days, where it's still considered summer blockbuster month. On August 5th, The Blob, that makes sense. It's a teen horror thing. But on August 10th, Clean and Sober with Michael Keaton, about alcoholism. I don't think I've ever seen it, but I've heard it's very good. But that comes out August 10th. And on August 12th, The Last Temptation of Christ, which is, that feels like it should have been Oscar bait. And that had a huge amount of controversy. So maybe they were just trying to find what's the least offensive, furthest away from Easter and Christmas that release that we can. You know what? I'll bet you. You know what? ladies and gentlemen, I will bet you that is why they chose Last Temptation of Christ to release in August, because it's the furthest away from both Christmas and Easter that you could get. I'll bet you, because it's, what is it? It's 4 months before Easter and about 4 months after Easter, or 4 months before Christmas and about 4 months after Easter. Yeah, I you know what? I'll promise you that is why they chose August 12th. It's a good flick, though. It's real good, obviously. It doesn't need my blessing. Mac and Me, though. The same day as Last Temptation of Christ, Mac and Me, the McDonald's commercial disguised as an E.T. ripoff with the fabulous meme of the kid in the wheelchair going off the cliff. Just great. But also on August 12th, Young Guns, which was capturing that youth cowboy market. Married to the Mob on August 19th, Jonathan Demme film with Michelle Pfeiffer, Matthew Modine. That's a charmer. That's one of those classics that absolutely holds up. And Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Someone just asked me the other day, we were looking at Nightmare comics at the store, and they were asking me what my favorite Nightmare movie is. I've seen all of them. I own them. I've seen them all multiple times. After Nightmare 1 and Nightmare 2, I don't remember any of them being different. And I remember liking some of them more and liking some of them less. But very similar to the Friday the 13th movies, my brain can't differentiate them all that well. So I don't remember if Dream Master is good or if Dream Master is bad. I feel like Dream Warriors is the one that everyone loves. And then everyone, I don't know. I don't get it. They're all very similar to me, but I do enjoy them. But I can't pick a favorite. It's too much for me. Don't ask. Hot to Trot with Bobcat Goldthwait and Dabney Coleman, Virginia Madsen. I've seen this movie a lot. And this is the movie with the talking horse. John Candy is the talking horse. This was on HBO, an absolute ton. Got Bobcat inherits a buck-toothed horse named Don, and he discovers that Don is a talking horse. With Dabney Coleman, I remember adoring that movie and just absolutely. I wonder if it holds up. I wonder if there's any. I mean, there's a ton of people in it. Mary Gross, Tim Kazarinsky. So I'm also been watching old SNL lately with Tim Kazarinsky and Mary Gross in it. And they're talented. They were just wasted on that. That show was terrible during that time, but they're talented and funny. This would have been 5 or 6 years after they were off SNL. But yeah, so Hot to Trot, and then the one with what's his name, Dreyfuss, from Richard Dreyfuss as the gambler. The two horse movies, the two like sports betting movies. And this is the one with the talking one. They were both quite entertaining. I think there's something about watching someone panicked and losing all their money that either thrills us or delights us. Thrills us in these or delights us, I guess, in the Hot to Trot and the Richard Dreyfuss one, and absolutely terrifies us in a movie like Uncut Gems.
You were saying?
Well, that's it for You Were Saying, Stalker. That's all I got to say. So now it is time to dig into G.I. Joe number 74.
Now, mass is ready.
Let's check out this cover by Ron Wagner and Bob McLeod. It says a lot. I don't. It's not one of my favorite covers. I love well, first of all, I love. Every episode I got to say it until he leaves the book. I love Ron Wagner as G.I. Joe artist. He probably is my favorite G.I. Joe artist. He's certainly cementing that each issue we go through. This is no exception. Cover wise, I'm not a fan of this. I don't necessarily like the lack of symmetry on it. There's too much. I mean, there's layers of layers, and Hawk has, your eyes immediately go, because I think he's wearing his gold off. I think the gold pops so much that your eyes go to Destro and Hawk kind of manhandling each other. And then your eyes kind of go down to the bottom where you got Cobra Commander choking the life out of Serpentor. And then in the background, it's the Baroness. And, well, Shirley. I feel like my dog Shirley was like, how dare you not love every cover of G.I. Joe? The Baroness is looking very, I believe it's supposed to be she's torn. Who do I shoot? You know, do I shoot Cobra Commander? Do I shoot Serpentor? Do I shoot Destro, the man I love, versus Cobra Commander, the man that I'm currently, you know, bopping? You know, so that's what's going on with that. I think it's all too much. I think if you know, because 30 years later, you know, they're waiting for my opinion. I think you pull the Baroness out of this entirely, and you reframe this a little bit, and you maybe go for more of that traditional, you know, one side versus the other side. I don't know. It's certainly not the worst cover I've ever seen, but it doesn't do it for me. I like the colors. I like that everyone's they just went with their action figure colors. You know, what's the other thing I've noticed on the Wagner covers too is they do tend to not have backgrounds. There's been a predominant number of them that are just, you know, the feature, and then with just a colored background in it. So that's what we're getting here again. You know, it is what it is, but it's still a G.I. Joe number 74.
Yo, Joe!
Now, it's called Alliance of Convenience. And it is written by Larry Hama did the script, Ron Wagner on pencils, Randy Emberlin inks, Bob Sharon colors, Rick Parker letters, Bobby Chase editor, Tom DeFalco editor-in-chief. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying Bobby Chase editor. That's right, guys. Because I don't think Bobby Chase, Bob Harris edited last month. So this is the first issue of G.I. Joe that Bobby Chase, who's very talented, is editing as like the regular monthly editor. So welcome aboard, Bobby Chase. Now, this splash page is great. There's so much detail in this. This is why this page and the following page actually is just why I love Ron Wagner drawing G.I. Joe. There is so much detail packed in, realistic detail packed into this page. Sneak Peek, everyone's favorite action figure. Again, I know I've mentioned this on the show before. I had Sneak Peek. I liked Sneak Peek, but because his toy, the periscope, was just solid plastic. You know, like they didn't add that, which I'm sure would have been real expensive to make the lens. You know, like a piece of see-through plastic. It was just solid green. I never understood what it was. Like, I didn't know, was that a cannon? Was that a weird way to shoot a laser? I don't think I realized for a long time that it was a periscope, that he was doing exactly what he's doing on this page. Maybe I didn't understand it until I read this comic. Maybe that's the first time I understood what that toy actually was. Has anyone out there, listeners, do you guys know, has anyone ever done a customed periscope to where it actually has a lens in there instead of just the flat green plastic? That would I think that would make that figure pop, make it look really good. The doughiest of all G.I. Joe guys, Sneak Peek. But we've got Lieutenant Falcon. This is the insertion team, if you guys forget. It's Lieutenant Falcon, Dialtone, Sneak Peeks, Spirit, and who else? Gung Ho, and I forget who else is on. Oh, I think Tunnel Rat. And they're scoping out the right now they're scoping out the assault on the Cobra Freighter. Cobra Freighter is where Serpentor is holed up. The assault is being done by Cobra Commander or Cobra Fredmander's troops. They're in maggots and hisses. The driver is the worms, and the vehicle is the maggot. And in the sky, we've got Mambas fighting Rattlers. I love it. This cover is great. So the upfront action is full color. Everyone, you know, appropriately colored. And then the step back behind it is using just a light blue to show shadow. And behind that, it's black with light blue highlights to show even further back. It's very smart use of coloring, very smart use of inks by Randy Emberlin. This is a really good looking splash page, and you get the action, what Sneak Peek is looking at, you get that represented above in the periscope, the image of the periscope. And technically, I think that should be like reversed. There's nothing in it to show that it's not reversed, so whatever. But I think like that would have been neat. That would have been like an added. This is one of those like you're judging it and you give it a 10 for everything, and like, man, one more level of difficulty would have been if he had illustrated words. You know, like if there were symbols or logos on the maggots that would have been reversed because it's the inverse image that you're seeing. You know what I'm saying? That would have been amazing. But it's getting a little plot summary on this page as well.
Yo, Joe!
Now we get this great 1/3 splash, and it's an overhead shot of the battle that we just saw in the periscope. So that periscope is leading us into this second page. So it's really nicely done. We don't exactly, well, we know that they're somewhere behind the lines of this Cobra push, but now what we're seeing is the Cobra push. So we're having all the so Serpentor has the Rattlers, Cobra Commander has the Mambas. Sorry, which is weird because last issue, it was the Mambas that went after right. The Mambas were launched by Cobra Commander. Yes, okay. Cobra Commander has the Mambas, Serpentor has the Rattlers, and it's like a ground war. This issue is also really good at toyifying these fights. A lot of sometimes when you get these big scale JoJo fights, it's a little more like real military. This is really very much like we have this toy fighting that toy in very specific units. These main characters are important to the outcome of the battle. All JoJos are really good with that, but this one really specifically does that really well. I like it a lot. They keep referencing where the aspen placements are, how many they have left, and you could almost imagine yourself being like, I have 2 asps, so I have to place them here, and I only have 1 rattler, so that's, and it's being flown by wild weeds. Like that kind of specificity, I think, works really well in the pages of this book. Baroness doing some of that plot summary as well. They're talking about they have numerical superiority on Serpentor's group, but Serpentor is just really well entrenched, and she's being told this by one of the Worms, the driver of the maggot, which is cool. Is this the first visual appearance of Worms? Which again, shouldn't he just be a worm? And then when they're together, they're worms. But I think the individual is called a worms. I believe I'm having a flashback that we talked about this when we did his file card. I don't like the plurality of it. He should just be worm. And if there's 2 of them, then they're worms. But Baroness is basically saying, I don't care what you're saying. Go keep pounding away at the, at Serpentor's forces, because we're just going to overwhelm them with firepower. Even though the worms is saying, like, they've got, they got trenches dug so the tanks can't get any further, things like that. So she calls Cobra Fred Mander.
Yo, Joe!
Now, in Cobra headquarters, and that's where Fred is holed up with the Dreadnoks. And it seems that all the Dreadnoks are doing to, quote, protect him is they've barricaded a bunch of tables and bookcases next to the door, and that's it. They're drinking grape soda and they're chilling, and it's awesome. Fred is starting to freak out. He doesn't trust that Zartan is going to have his back. I would also not trust that Zartan would have my back, because Zartan is, as they speak, he's calling into questions Fred's leadership. I think Zartan, being a master of disguise, I think Zartan knows that that's not Cobra Commander. If they're, it's like, you're not going to fool. It's kind of like in Batman comics, the Riddler is the one who's recently, different iterations of it. The Riddler figures it out that Batman's Bruce Wayne, because it's the ultimate riddle. So it has to be that's the enemy who has to kind of figure it out first. So, of course, if someone's masquerading as someone else, of course it's going to be Zartan. I don't know if we get payoff on that before the final reveal, but I get the feeling from this that Zartan knows he's not dealing with the original Cobra Commander. Hey, it's all the chocolate donuts you can eat.
Yo, Joe!
So at the freighter, Serpentor, being the master tactician, he trusts in his plan. So remember, he sent Mindbender off to speak with the U.S. government and was going to basically say, I'll give you back your multi-million-dollar black box if you send some dudes in to help us. And help us, you're basically choosing sides in a regime. And remember, Cobra Island is a sovereign nation. So whether we like them or not, Serpentor is the rightful ruler. Shirley's voicing her support for Serpentor. she's very, she should get probably this week. I apologize, listeners. She should probably get like co-billing as a frequent guest star of Joe on Joe. So it's a lot of tactical stuff. This whole issue is a lot of tactical stuff, and it's great because it moves very fast. We're seeing the results of this, and we're seeing that Tomax and Zaymont, they want to, they think they can break through, but Serpentor is basically saying, no, let them kind of regroup because he says, one must learn patience if one is to win battles. Now the Bat comes in, and he's got a call from the mainland with Mindbender, and it's literally a telephone call, and it's Serpentor hearing from Mindbender that their plan is successful. And while that happens, the Bat gets shot in the head, I'm assuming from an outside gun. It's not really clear whether it's, but the reason I say it's not clear is because remember that Bat, I'm assuming that's the same Bat, had a camera from Fred inserted in it. So Fred was able to spy on what was going on at Serpentor's headquarters. That is a detail that is not it's not reiterated in this issue, but if you remember it from the last issue and you see now this Bat gets shot in the head, now if you're keeping score, Fred has lost an asset of intel. So that's really cool. I liked it a lot. It put the onus on us to remember the continuity of what was happening. I'm a fan.
Yo, Joe!
Now, Lieutenant Falcon, they were off, watching things from a distance. They get a call, or actually he calls the USS Flag to check in, and he gives Hawk an update that the troops are still attacking the freighter, and he's guessing that Serpentor is using his defenses to grind away the Baroness' numerical superiority. And as we're doing this, we see there's some Cobra Troopers just getting straight up murdered by Serpentor. That's old school Cobra Troopers, not Vipers. And Hawk tells him to head to the runway to get a complete report on the defenses and runway conditions. So they have to pick up and go check out the runway. And I like the way they drew this. They put the phone, it's a little bit out of his ear, and they show Falcon's eyes giving that quizzical look. So right away in the artwork, even if they're not saying it out loud, but Falcon is questioning, why are we doing this? The battle's here. Why are we leaving? This is the main battle. This is mano a mano. This is where everything's happening. So I think this is great. And I wonder if this was in the script or if this was Wagner adding it. It's absolutely masterful storytelling. So then they have to pick up and go, and Spirit says, remember Captain Min, who was the Vietnamese boat pilot that we thought died, and then he survived on Cobra Island. He's been trailing these guys, and Spirit knows that someone's following him.
Yo, Joe!
Meanwhile, on the USS Flag, they're 30 miles east of Cobra Island. And longtime guy, General Hollingsworth, who we haven't seen for a while, he's flying in with 2 Tomahawks full of G.I. Joes because they're bringing in basically all the Joes they can. And the fact that Hollingsworth there means it's pretty important. So Hawk tells Flint that last night he ordered him to send the recon team to the airfield. And so that means, Hawk is asking Flint, what does that mean to you? So I think Hawk doesn't exactly know what's going on, but Hawk has suspected it, just like Lieutenant Falcon's shifty eye in the previous one. They know something's up, and it's something they're probably not going to like. So Duke shows up. We haven't seen Duke in a little bit. And we've got this full team, and I'm talking, it's everybody, guys. This is cool because they bring in, there's all kinds of guys here. Who do we got? Let's see, Sci-Fi, Low Light, Breaker, Crazy Legs. Can't really, it looks like maybe Recondo. Looks like Dial Tone. Clutch, I think, is in that mix. And here comes General Hollingsworth with Dr. Mindbender. So everyone reaches for their guns, which is great. And Hollingsworth said, put away the sidearm. He's on our side now. And of course, Mindbender is loving that. He's smiling. And he said, more accurately, we're on his side. The Joes are going to Cobra Island to support his boss, Serpentor.
Yo, Joe!
What? And that's why the Whale is standing by. They've got the combat engineer team is on the Whale. There's 2 C-130s. They've called out every Joe on the roster. all of Battle Force 2000 is up there, guys. Literally, listen, Battle Force 2000 is in the mix. You call Matt Plossman, you tell him Battle Force 2000 in the house. And they've got reserve forces of Joes that are coming on, they're heading their way on a landing craft. It's every Joe, it's all hands available. And that's why they sent the recon team in the first place, because they're going to scout the airfield. The Joes are going into the airfield. Hawk is not happy about this. Both his face, his clenched fist, and we as Hawk are reminded that the U.S. government has cut a deal with Serpentor because Serpentor is the Cobra Emperor. And it boils down to whether we support a constitutional monarchy or a fascist dictatorship. And, smugly, Mindbender says, well, yeah, we got this because it's the box that we stole from you. So basically the Joes are in a pinch. They stole it from them. And this is what I'm saying is just 2 issues in a row of the G.I. Joes making look like punks.
Yo, Joe!
Now we're looking through Sneak Peek's periscope, and the airfield, it's firmly in the hands of Cobra Commander troops. We got asps dug in around the tower. They have 3 maggots for mobile ground support. This is what I'm talking about, where it's very singularly toy specific throughout this issue of there's 2 asps, there's 3 maggots. You could, you and your buddies could recreate this as, as an action set, which is really neat. It's great. I love that. There's not 50 asps, and it's all this stuff is enough to keep that toyetic enjoyment in mind, and I really dig it. So Sneak Peek's filling everybody in on what the infantry is, and this little bit of dialogue is great. There's great acting on the bottom of the page. You see this 3-panel progression of shock on Lieutenant Falcon's face. It's Falcon listening to Hawk, and it's Hawk telling him the previous orders have been superseded. The non-engagement rule has been lifted, so you have an open sanction, which means the whole island, they can shoot anybody on the island. And that their new assignment is to take the tower. And when they see the signal, which is a red star shell flare gun, they have to take the tower at whatever the cost. And the first panel is it's an enclosed panel, and you can see these listening intently. Second panel, it's got an open border, and that registers shock, right? So what does that do? So his eyes open up, and the phone starts to drop away because you see more of his mouth now, right? So that's the phone dropping away from his mouth, very similar to what we saw in the previous couple of pages where the phone kind of came away from his ear. And the panel is open. So that brings you out, right? So it's shock, and it's not contained in the panel. Then it's contained again as Falcon is staring at the phone I can't believe what I just heard. Meanwhile, he has to say, no, sir, I copy loud and clear. We take the top, he's copying it. And by closing that panel, you're taking that shock, which he was putting outwardly, I can't believe this, and he's focusing that directly to the message, which is the phone that he's staring at, right? It's very subtle, but really nice. I'm listening, I'm intent, I'm a closed panel. What? Panel opens up. I can't believe this. And then he gathers himself because he's a soldier, and he directs that focus to, I got to process what I'm being told here. And what I'm being told here is kind of a suicide mission. So it's a very small piece, but really nice storytelling.
Yo, Joe!
Now, this page, character-wise, continues this. It's great. Hawk finishes the call with, I knew I could count on you, Falcon. To me, that, and then the remaining dialogue too, which is, I'm also fully aware of what I'm asking you to do. We are coming in to take the airfield, and all other available teams have been assigned to the other strong points. If the enemy retains control of the tower, they will be able to direct their defenses. I don't have to tell you what our chances are if that's allowed to happen. So that last part is it's exposition for us to tell us why it's so important that they're putting these guys on almost a suicide mission to take that tower. But that first line of, I knew I could count on you, Falcon, he's delivering it with Mindbender over his shoulder, so he can't look weak in front of literally the enemy. And it's also, I think it's a recognition of, I'm with you. I could count on you because I also know this order is bunk, but we're soldiers and we have to do it. he's not yelling at him. He's not saying, he's not acknowledging, he's acknowledging Falcon's reticence without dressing down Falcon for, not necessarily questioning his orders, but he can hear the reticence in his voice. It's great. I think it's a really nice subtle piece of, I'm on your side. I know this is crazy. Let's get through this conversation. So Hawk's on the strike team. I also take Hawk being on the strike team as recognition of, this is so crazy. I can't put my team in places that I wouldn't go myself. So I'm going to represent and go in with them.
Yo, Joe!
Now, if you want a look of seriousness, it's gung ho in this top panel. He is giving it his all. They're trying to figure out, they get to the airport and they're trying to figure out, like, how are we going to do this? Remember, guys, there's 6 of them. They have small arms, really. And, what is happening? And gung ho is, we say, best we can do is sneak down through the tall grass and try to use the hangars as cover. And that's the extent of their plan, which is probably not going to turn out really well. Except, remember, Spirit was going to hang back and see who was trailing him. That's that Captain Min guy I'm talking about. So now Spirit says, hold on, before we do this, let me take care of this guy. Spirit grabs Min, and he traps him, pins him down, and Min says, don't kill me. I know how to get to the tower without being seen. So that's huge.
Yo, Joe!
What I like about that is it's not completely Deus Ex Machina. It's not completely out of the blue. Very much like the some of the complaints I had about the White Clown stuff, where like they were just there to rescue Snake Eyes and the team. This is, we know Min has been on this island, and Larry set up the fact that Spirit knew someone was trailing him. So before it makes sense, before they go on this, they better find out who's trailing them, regardless, because they have no idea that it's not a Cobra guy. We better figure that out, sort that out before we do anything, because otherwise that'll bite us in the butt. So I like this setup. This feels more organic to me than the White Clown saving the day with that big cannon did. Now, as they're approaching the beach with the airfield in sight, we got 2 tomahawks, we got a whale, and it's a lot more exposition, but this is what's needed in books like this. It needs, I go in first with the weapons team, Duke follows with the security team, then the security team backs up your assault. Like that. That's how you tell this story. You draw exciting images with the characters reiterating the plan that we know, as if you were showing this like in a live action movie, they should know that, like they would have covered that and they wouldn't be repeating it to each other. But that's how you do it with these stories, and I think it works great. So this is Duke's security team, or is this Hawks? This is Hawks' team. Roadblock, Mindbender's there, Leatherneck, who's Leatherneck's giving Mindbender the eye. It's great. Low Light, Doc. That's either Ripcord or Crazy Legs, I think, all the way in the back. Sci-Fi, and it appears to be Clutch. It's probably Crazy Legs, but it's, for some reason, yeah, it's probably Crazy Legs. And so they shoot that star shell. Shipwreck shoots it off from the surface of the whale. And on the whale, you've got Mutt and Junkyard, Cutter, Shipwreck, and I can't tell who the others are, but they're approaching the beach, and then this giant flare goes off.
Yo, Joe!
Which is the guy's signal. So Min has said, there's a storm drain which runs underneath the tower, and that's how they can get into the tower. So that's great. So they're not going to have to sacrifice themselves storming this well-fortified tower. And Captain Min reiterates, I am Captain Min. You come here to kill man in Cobra Commander suit, I help you. Min's been around since G.I. Joe 64, 9 issues ago. Hey, Min, we miss you. And if they don't take the tower, the guys are going to get chewed up. And what's cool about this page, as they kind of, assault the tower and they go up through the grate and attack, and it's who is it? Tunnel Rat's in the lead. The panel before Tunnel Rat attacks these troopers, we're not just taking their word for it that it's important to take the tower. They're very smart. Larry is very smart in this panel to show us 2 examples of how this tower is so important. Because the one soldier is saying helicopters coming in from the sea, and the other soldier is giving orders about that. Alert the asp positions, scramble the Mambas. So it's showing us, the reader, that not only is having that tower important to see what's going on, but then they're also going to be directing what's going on. And they said that earlier, but now we're seeing it in action. So it really is driving home how important it is to take this tower.
Yo, Joe!
Now the helicopters land. The Mambas are heading in. So one of the helicopters one of the Tomahawks gets blowed up real good. It's Lift Ticket's team. I think Lift Ticket and I think Crazy Legs get shot. We found out later. Yeah, you see Crazy Legs getting dragged away at the end here by Beachhead, and Wild Bill's flying the other Tomahawk. He gets away and he's engaging the Mambas in the sky. Like right away, that's how fast this moves. Helicopters land, they peel up, things are exploding. The GI Joes already lost a vehicle. Like they're not slowing down here.
Yo, Joe!
On the other side of the runway, the whale is now surfacing on the beach, firing at will. It looks like stalkers on the whale as well. So now we're getting the asps into action. So the asps are traversing their guns, and they're fighting. They blow up the whale. The whale flips. Oh no, Tripwire's here, and it looks like, is that Short Fuse? Yeah, Short Fuse is the one with the glasses, right? Yeah, Short Fuse, which is great. Like, we haven't seen some of these Joes in forever. I love this. This is absolutely great, and this is how G.I. Joe should be used in every iteration. Live action, cartoon. You should have just random dudes that you haven't seen forever doing their jobs. They don't have to have dialogue. They don't have to have anything. They should just be doing their jobs, because that's what G.I. Joe is all about.
Yo, Joe!
Meanwhile, at the tower, they've cleared the main floor, but they have to make their way up, I guess, to the actual, to the roof. So, Dial Tone and Gung Ho are, shooting up the stairs at the soldiers. They still have to take it. And meanwhile, at the freighter, a bunch of hiss tanks come out, and Serpentor's leading the charge on these hisses, and they're attacking the Baroness and her maggot squadron. And they've broken through their lines. And what's neat is, so now that we know Serpentor has the hisses, Baroness has the maggots. The way this is drawn is that they've broken through. So the Baroness's maggot has broken down, and she's actually on the left side of the panel, and the hisses are past her, heading towards the right. So it is a literal line crossing that's happening, which really comes into play 2 pages from now.
Yo, Joe!
So the maggots are now attacking the airfield. So let's see. So the maggots are the Baroness's people. So they're trying to attack and they controlled the airfield, remember? So now the maggots are attacking the Joes, and the weapons team, which is Sci-Fi and Quick Draw, they start taking out these vehicles, and this is just seeing these toys in action. You got to give Quick Draw because I'm sure they all would be shooting. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to just say, "Hey, Quick Draw, take that out." They all would be throwing lead at this thing. But it's nice to see Quick Draw, that was an intricate toy, man. God bless him. Yeah, that toy would, I imagine, if a human had rockets attached to him, not only the thrust would just throw him and break his back, but like the heat. Anyway, that was a toy. Quick Draw was it? I had Quick Draw. I still have Quick Draw. It's quite a toy. And then you get a nice shot of everyone. You see that Crazy Legs and Lift Ticket do need a medevac. Breaker's been shot. Who else is in this picture? Beachhead, Duke. Yeah, there is Ripcord. Ripcord's there. There's Lowlight and Roadblock and Leatherneck, and I think that's Airborne in the front. That looks to me like it's Airborne, which is pretty cool. I just like seeing these old guys come back.
Yo, Joe!
Now, up in the skies, these C-130s were heading in, and so the C-130s, they're transport troops, so that's why they needed the airfield. They needed the airfield to land the C-130s so that all this other G.I. Joe weaponry can unload, right? All this other armament. So there's a lot of smoke that's in the way. They're being escorted by Maverick. In that, was it the Skystorms? The Vector, and the Asps are taken care of by Shipwreck's team. They throw these satchel charges that blow up the Asps, and the C-130s have a place to land.
Yo, Joe!
So while they're unloading, it's up to Maverick to keep the skies clear. Maverick and Wild Bill, actually. Wild Bill shows up. Tighten me up. Tighten me right up, amigo. You can come gunfighting with me any old time. You know, Wild Bill's the best. And this time he needed Maverick to save his bacon. It's great. We always love Wild Bill. You guys know this. This is no secret in the world of G.I. Joe. Wild Bill's the champ. And so now they're lowering the ramps and they're starting to unload the gear.
Yo, Joe!
Now, as they're doing that, which will take a few minutes, the Thunder Machine rolls up. So now Cobra Commander has left the security of the Cobra Palace to see what's happening down at the airfield. And it's the Dreadnoks on the Thunder Machine. I love the continuity of Thrasher still having the broken nose from their adventure in Sierra Gordo. And as they're pulling up, you remember those big twin cannons that are in the front of the Thunder Machine? They do not go to waste. They tear up this C-130 and absolutely put it into flames. So now the Joes are down to C-130 as well. And they're getting all the stuff off. And as the Dreadnoks drive past,
Yo, Joe!
they kidnap Hawk, which is amazing. The Dreadnoks are the wild card, man. They always are. So many times in these battles, they'll be going one way and it's like tacticians reading other tacticians and making choices based on, this is how you do it. And so we'll counter this way and that way. And then you throw the Dreadnoks in the mix and everything, and something crazy, either good or bad, happens. And in this case, randomly, they're in a position to kidnap Hawk, like the leaders of the Joes. That's great. And so they get him. So now the Dreadnoks, and Hawk's putting up a fight, of course, but the Dreadnoks and Cobra Commander have Hawk held prisoner. And we see now, unfortunately, Serpentor also has a prisoner. He rolls up in his Hiss tank with the Baroness trussed up on the front of the Hiss.
Yo, Joe!
All hail Serpentor indeed. And remember, Cobra Fred Mander, he's having an affair with the Baroness. Now, whether it's out of actual care or just out of circumstance to keep power, leave that up to him. I'm not going to judge. But it's just a comedy of errors on this Thunder Machine. Hawk's still punching everything around. They're trying to drive away, they don't want to get destroyed because the Thunder Machine is just the Thunder. I mean, it's a badass vehicle, but it's not an armored tank, you know what I mean? So now we've got Zartan rolls up with the maggots. So Thunder Machine was running ahead of the maggots, and Zartan's controlling that column of military. So we've got the Thunder Machine catching up with the maggots, and they've got Hawk. The Joe's in the middle. Serpentor with the Baroness on the Hisses. And so it's like that fight that was centered around the tanker in the beginning is now moved to the airfield. So we're setting the scene for this with the Joes trapped in the middle. Except there's one more wrinkle to it. Here comes Destro.
Yo, Joe!
Now, mass is ready.
And Destro has brought a phalanx of his Iron Grenadiers. The Joes did succeed in taking the full tower. They're up at the top. There's lots of bullet holes and dead Cobra soldiers, so, kudos to them. And it seems like Destro, according to Gung Ho, decided to cut himself in on the action, and he brought all of his boys with him. I actually read that. First read this, I read that as he brought all of his toys with him, which also works. And it's all those Iron Grenadier, all the vehicles. The, what is that? The Demon and stuff. Like, now this is kind of the first real deployment of it in the comics that we've seen. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot more of these guys than there are of the G.I. Joe team. So this is really throwing a wrinkle into it. And you got to remember, Destro loves him some Baroness. So he's going to come in here and he's going to want, who knows what he's going to want. We're going to find out next issue, but he's not going to be happy that she's being used by Serpentor. He also knows that Fred is a phony, I believe, right? Let's see. No, he doesn't know Fred's a phony. He left Cobra Commander with Billy. So if and when he meets up with Cobra Commander again, I think he's going to have something to say, like, I thought you gave up the game to save your son. So there's all kinds of long-running threads that are converging here, and it's fabulous, and I'm here for it. Listeners, I'm really glad you're here for it with me. I love doing it. Welcome. Thanks again, listeners, for all your support. at Joe and Joe Pod on all the socials. Shout out, retweet, share with your friends, tell your enemies, warn your neighbors, hide your dogs, because now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.